Did it count down? I didn't see it. I love it.
It did.
All right.
It
Well,
did. We're live.
welcome to Dark with Paranormal. I am your host, Gabriel Von Graves, and we're off to a wonderful start. Thank you for joining us. Before we continue tonight, I want to take a moment to properly introduce the voice joining us. Our guest this evening is Jeremy Burton, creator and host of The Common Historian, a history and paranormal podcast that explores haunted locations, ghost stories, and most importantly, the real events behind the legends that refuse to die. That sounds kind of cool. Jeremy holds a bachelor's degree in history and spends years working in educational technology, where he gives his work a research-driven, emphatic approach that I deeply respect. He doesn't chase the sensational. He examines the why, the when, and the human side beneath the hauntings. His guide believes is one of the resonance strongly here. History never truly dies, does it, folks? It just finds new ways to haunt us. That mindset makes him a natural fit for this conversation, and I am generally looking forward to diving deeper into the intersections of fact, memory, and the unexplained with him tonight. Now, before we bring Jeremy fully into the discussion, I want to take a quick moment to thank a couple of our friends of the show. If you ever find yourself in Ironton, Minnesota, make sure you stop by the Hudson House, an independently owned establishment known for great food, strong drinks, and a welcoming atmosphere that feels like home the moment you walk in. We love that place, don't we, Raven?
Oh, we do.
It's the kind of place where conversations linger, the stories get told, and we're proud to support them. And those of you in the Milwaukee are passing through, Shaker Cigar Bar, one of our favorite places, is a must-visit, rich in history, characters, and yes, more than just a few stories of its own. Shaker's remains one of the most iconic cigar bars in the country, in a place we're always happy to recommend and go. Make sure you tell Bob Darkwoods Paranormal sent you. He's a fan of Ravens. Mine, he doesn't like me that much, but that's okay. I also want to formally welcome Raven Knight, who many of you know as the voice and guidance presence here in Darkwoods Paranormal. Raven brings research, intuition, and the grounded perspective that helps balance this conversation. Enough about her. Okay, Unboxed Media is more than just a podcast production. We work to create small businesses and established brands to help them tell their story clearly. I am, once again, Gabriel Von Graves, and joining me is Raven Knight. With that said, let's bring Jeremy into the conversation and begin exploring the history that refuses to stay buried. Jeremy, welcome to the show, and how are you tonight, sir?
Oh, well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Doing good, doing good. Glad to be here and excited to see what we explore tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, good. So let's do this. Let's actually tell everybody. I mean, now Gabriel gave you a really good introduction. Talked a little bit about what you do. We know that you have a degree in history, which we both find very interesting. Actually, when we go into all of our haunted locations, we're always very interested in the history of the place as well.
Well, the history tells the story.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, history tells the story, but some stories never die, or some things never die, right? Like they're alive in the history or in the stories that they're telling. So first of all, how did you come from a history background and then bring that into the podcast world?
It all started really about 20 years ago, when I lived in a haunted house for about, I think it was two and a half years. And when I say haunted house, I mean haunted house. Full body apparitions, babies crying, phantom babies crying, the whole works. Phantom footsteps, we had it all in this residential house that we lived in. And I'm from upstate New York. Actually, I should say almost Canada. Literally, if I go down my road, like a mile and a half, it's Canada.
Wow.
Well, just like you, sir, I've lived in a haunted house as well. I actually lived in a boat in Minnesota. I was a liveaboard for many years, and that was haunted as well. And the one thing that I think people don't quite understand is, as fascinating as the paranormal is, when you live with it, you can't shut it off.
No, you can't. And actually, after a while, for the most part, we just kind of got used to it.
Right.
Oh, sure.
It wasn't
Sure.
like they were, like what you see on TV where, you're getting scratched and, pushed and, occasionally, like one time I was ride sharing with someone when I wasn't a national sales manager back then. I was working, I think, at like one of the retail stores, and I was ride sharing, and um, I was waiting one winter morning in the garage, and I heard boot steps outside, and you know this was 6 in the morning. There shouldn't have been anyone in my driveway or anywhere near. So I went outside to look, and it was fresh snow on the ground, no boot prints, no nothing. But I swore someone walked right up to the side of the garage, and
Wow.
that's kind of one of the calmer things. But you know, it does when it happens, it throws you off a little bit. But after you've been there for a little bit, it really didn't bother me too much.
Sure. So, being somebody who's been interested in history, did you then look into the history of the location and try to see if there was anything that had happened there?
Yeah, from what I could find, it was at one point a funeral home, or they had bodies there. It was right next to the Catholic Church. The first graveyard of the town was also right next to our house.
Huh.
Um,
Did you have a
Unfortunately,
water source next to, like a stream or something?
there was rivers across the road, across the main road, but it wasn't overly close. But there was some there. But unfortunately, when we moved out of that house, they bulldozed it down. But um,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
we were renting, and there was a bunch of different things wrong, and they didn't want to. It wasn't worth fixing, so they just bulldozed it in. But the tree's still there, and where the house was in the town I lived in. Now there's where the house was. There's a sign for the old age home that, or not old age, but you know the senior living um, place. So I can kind of still envision it when I go by it. I wonder if I've never tried. I never stopped and like went there, and you know I wonder if some of those spirits are still hanging around that sign there.
I was just going to ask you that. I know in our experience, and Raven, you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and you love doing that. So, if a place is haunted and you bulldoze the structure, and then you build on top of it, it's been, at least my experience, that it continues on, right? I mean, it's kind of connected to the land, I think.
Yeah,
What do you think? I mean, Jeremy, you are the history guy between the two of us.
yeah. I do think that it does stay there. Someday I probably will go and maybe see if it's still
Ask
there.
some
So
questions.
I imagine even though it's been 20 years, they probably still remember me.
Sure, sure. I think so. So the haunted house that I lived in, I went to go visit not too long ago, about a year ago, and I could still feel the presence. And I think you spend enough time with something that doesn't understand time, right? You being missing for portions of our timeline, I don't think it notices. I think it still remembers your energy and maybe your presence or whatever that is. I think. What do you think, Raven?
I think that's probably true. And we've talked about that before. I'm not going to correct you. I don't think you're wrong. I think that spirits are tied to the land. I do. I do believe that. Like, you think of places, and Jeremy can probably attest to this, places like Gettysburg and like
Right.
Salem, or anything that has like that rich history where the stuff might not exist there anymore, but like we know that these places are said to be extremely haunted. So it's not necessarily the location. It could just be the land itself. It could be the energy, the stuff that happened in those locations as well. So, Gettysburg, and I know that you covered some Gettysburg in your podcast, Jeremy, but
Yeah.
like Gettysburg itself, like when people go there, everybody well, I shouldn't say everybody because I don't know if it's everybody.
Generalizing is cool. Go ahead.
Generalizing, people that have gone there, that have visited it, have said that they've had, a lot of encounters or a lot of feelings, or, they even have that overwhelming feeling of sadness in these places.
Right.
And that could just be residual energy that's been there as well. So, yeah, I agree, Gabriel.
Well, tell us about Gettysburg, Jeremy. That sounds interesting, my friend.
Well, the most recent interview I did was with the Farnsworth House in and Milt. He's one of the tour guides there, and we talked about a bunch of different things that are happening within the inn, which I think that's intelligent haunting. I think most of the, like on the battlefields and stuff, that's residual. Just that's my opinion, because but the one thing I did learn, I never knew that there was a haunted mirror at the Farnsworth.
Oh,
I never knew that, and that kind of that really fascinated me. We dug in there. They had actually, when I interviewed him, he had got recently one of the guests had photographed the mirror and photographed a picture of a new entity that they don't like. They have their regulars that they know there, and there's a new one there, and he said that it didn't look nice, but
well, tell us more about the mirror. What was the history of the mirror?
He didn't go into it in detail.
Okay.
I believe Kindred Spirits did a whole episode on the mirror.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet, but
I love them.
if I remember correctly, they had came in and did a whole episode, and they did talk about, I believe it was in the basement where they Lorraine Warren had marked off one section.
Really?
Because she believed that there was something not demonic, but something not nice in there. So, and I guess on the tours that you take there, you can actually see I don't know what exactly they call it, but she warded it off. And I don't know if I can't remember exactly what.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
It.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, but that was a fascinating interview. I really, really enjoyed that.
What other interviews have you had that you can think of that were extremely fascinating to you?
To me, I really enjoyed Jeff Ballinger. I always mess his name up.
Bellinger.
Yeah, we dove into the holiday like Krampus and the Belsnickel and all of that. That was really, I very much enjoyed it. I always liked the holiday, the different holiday, looking at Christmas and the holidays differently than what
Me too.
today. Media today has made Christmas into, or
Right. Well, where in your research, what are the origins of Christmas for those of us that don't know?
So a lot of the origins of the modern Christmas were kind of, they came from I think it was the Irish, Scottish, the Celts or the Picts, and trying to think here.
No, that's okay. I put you on the spot there, Jeremy. I didn't mean to do that. So history that I kind of looked in for Christmas was a pagan. At least what I caught, pagan history, and I always thought that was kind of fascinating. Back in the the empire when the Roman Catholics were taking over everything, and Christianity was one of the main aspects that they were trying to fight for. They took a lot of holidays and kind of made it into a Christian holiday. So
Yeah.
they kind of changed that mind frame, and they kind of made it law that you have to practice these ones. At least in my history, that I read about. I always thought that was fascinating. I think.
And a lot of I think it's the German, the German history. Christmas wasn't about gift giving and presents. It was more about, the long winter,
Yeah,
darkness,
absolutely.
punishment. Um, so
Yeah, yeah. I want to ask you though. We kind of skipped over a little bit of it, but how did you, or what part after you lived in this haunted house did you decide
Mhm.
that you were going to start a podcast? And then what was
Mhm.
the process of you starting that podcast? And I mean, if we could even, this is maybe a three-parter, but take it a little step further. How did you start? And then how do you find your guests? If you're going for more of a history basis, like where are you looking to find your guests, and how do you do
so
all of that?
what it was a while. I was like, I only started this a year ago.
Oh,
You mentioned that.
congratulations for
I
years.
started
That's
a year
good.
ago.
Yeah.
And when I started it, it was, the Common Historian was going to be a history channel. Um, and I started doing I did a few Christmas shorts actually. I started right before Christmas. So I did a few Christmas shorts and I was making a few different videos. And then ended up, there was one of them, and I don't remember which one, but it had something paranormal in it.
Hmm.
And it did much better mixing the history with the paranormal
Sure.
than the straight history. And from there, I said, well, yes, I've already named my channel The Common Historian. I said, well, I'll just say where history meets the supernatural.
Oh,
And I
good.
kind of
Good.
went into that, and I started making like haunted videos of different places and different themes. It wasn't until August that I actually started the podcast.
Okay.
Um, I and it kind of started with, I had a local paranormal team that, and I said, well, hey, you want to do an interview? And so they came on. I had fun doing it, and I was like, oh well, I might as well just do this once a week, and then I just pull all my shorts from that, and I plaster them, Facebook, all of my other social medias, um, and I really enjoy doing it. I like talking to people. I like hearing the stories. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's I like to pull the stories from them. And so I was doing location owners, paranormal teams, um, you know, historians, and I try to theme like during the holidays. I had Jeff on,
Mm.
specifically because I wanted to do a Krampus, and I wanted to go into that, and I would like, as you just saw, I'm not the expert on that, so I tried to bring one
Oh
of the
no,
experts.
Krampus is a cool history too.
Oh,
We were just at a Krampus festival in Milwaukee, wasn't it, Rafe? And it was a lot of
Yeah,
fun. And you need to join us next time. It was cool. Some of
yeah,
the history of Krampus, I loved it.
oh yeah,
Milwaukee. But we need to go to Germany next. Is really what it is. That was our appetizer for the real deal, which is in
Are you
Germany.
up for Germany? There, Germany. We can do that in Germany. Let's do that, man. We'll go next week. It's no problem.
oh, I would love to go to Germany.
Oh, I think the history alone, man, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, that's with me. Like when I go places, yes, I want to go for the paranormal, but
Hmm.
I also, even if there's no paranormal, I kind of geek out over just the history.
And rightfully so. I mean, history is a story unto itself, and it doesn't really give a lot of leeway for to add elements that didn't exist. History is set. It happened, and I think recently, within the last 30 years, I do think that people try to change history, and the sadness about that is once it's gone, man. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
You're
think
going to
there
say
was one-
history is set unless you're talking Mandela effect.
So Mandela effect is a interesting element of itself. What do you know about the Mandela effect, there, Jeremy?
Um, I've heard of many of them.
What are the some ones you heard of?
Of course, the Nelson Mandela one where he had died
Hmm.
previously.
Hmm.
Um,
Died in prison.
yeah, he died in prison when he didn't, actually die till
In
much
prison.
later.
Yeah. Right.
Trying to think of some of the other ones. There
The
was,
monocle for the Monopoly guide. That's always a popular one.
yeah,
The cornucopia for the Fruit of Looms. I remember the cornucopia.
yes.
For that. Then there was a Pikachu one where there was the black at the tip or the yellow, something like that. Not a
Yeah.
Pokemon guy, but
And I think there's one of them I heard recently was I think one of the Britney Spears videos. I think it was.
Yes. So Britney
Okay, same
Spears was
one.
wearing a checkered skirt and having like one of those microphones that go, and then in the Mandela effect, yeah, in the Mandela effect, she didn't have that. So that's a fun one. I mean, if for those of you guys that are Britney Spears fans, there's got to be.
Listen, I appreciate some Britney Spears. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, me too. Yeah.
When I was
How about you, Jeremy? Are you a Britney
exercising-
Spears fan, my friend?
Not a big one, but an occasional "Hit Me Baby One More Time" is good.
Yeah.
I don't know that one. If you sing us a little portion of that, please.
You don't
No,
want me to
no,
sing.
okay, all right, that's all right.
Oh,
Look,
come on.
so,
I'm expecting Jerry to come out with the microphone.
so during your podcast, and I think it's awesome. I love talking to podcasters. What are the more interesting stories that you discovered through your podcast?
The one like history focused. I think the most history that I've learned on one podcast was probably the Greystone Manor in New York.
Oh,
Heather,
tell us about that.
Madison.
Okay.
She she was very prepared. She sent me the whole history prior to this podcast. I kind of geeked out over that. I was looking and reading and enjoyed it. But just the layers of history that place had, and they had it all documented from multiple generations all the way down to the current owners. They had found on the outside of the house Indian burial grounds. It was also, I believe, if I remember correctly, the Erie Canal workers. They had an encampment there around that area.
Mhm.
It was a very, I think that interview was one of them where I learned the most, and thoroughly enjoyed it. The other, one of the stories pre-podcast before I went on to that podcast, I was putting my dogs away, and I went upstairs, and I had to pass my little bathroom upstairs, and I happened just to glance in there, full shadow figure. I saw a full shadow figure,
Okay.
and
Wow.
then I went on. I did the interview after I was chatting with her, and she was like, "Oh, that was probably one of mine. They like to check people out before I get interviewed by people."
Okay.
I have not seen the shadow figure since.
What did it look like? I mean, I think we've all kind of seen shadow figures. And I know
was just
Raven has. I have.
It looked.
Yeah.
Was it skinny? Was it fat? I mean, what would it look like? Yours, at least.
Mine was I could see the head.
Yeah.
It was there for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. The head, and it just like broad shoulders, and it was a big blobby, almost mass, but it looked like a person.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
I was probably, I hadn't seen something like that since I lived in the haunted house.
Right.
So,
Wow.
Going back to your haunted house, what was the first experience you had there that let you know that there's something in this house?
It first began with we'd be watching TV downstairs, and it was my wife, my daughter, who's now 20 something. But she was just a baby, or young. And my brother-in-law and his girlfriend, now wife, they lived with us as well because we were really young then. So we kind of lived all together. But
Absolutely.
we were watching TV and we heard a baby crying, and it wasn't my daughter. And so we just thought it was weird at first, and it was coming from the upstairs. Um, I think we went and checked because we thought, we at that point we just moved in recently. From there, I'd be at work. My wife would hear it would sound like dancing upstairs, like people walking, and there was no one else in the house with her. And it kind of escalated to, um, well, some of the kids, nieces, nephews would come, and they would go play upstairs. And the upstairs was a lot more than the main floor. Upstairs was a lot more haunted. Um, they were, they said that there was something in the wall, and they were trying to dig it. They were like digging into the closet wall. They said something was in the wall. We did not investigate to see if there was anything in the wall. We told them don't do that because we were renting it, and destruction of property is not good. Um, but there are other times my brother-in-law and his girlfriend and their young son were they had their bedrooms upstairs. We had a downstairs bedroom, and his girlfriend actually chased what she thought was a person
Mm-hmm.
down the stairs and out the door. She said that it looked just like almost person. I don't know if it was a shadow or if it was, she thought it was an actual person. She thought someone had broken in.
Wow.
And
Sure.
they used to hear things from the closet,
Mm-hmm.
noises in the closet. I could tell when my brother-in-law was coming down the stairs because he would run. He would run from the back bedroom all the way down the stairs. You could. um, the scariest time for me would have been one night the breaker went, and the breaker box is in the cellar. And this is an
The
old,
best
like,
place for them, Jeremy.
old, old
It's
farmhouse.
dark, there's no lights, and you're like, yeah, downstairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like,
So,
I like the basement.
Yeah.
well, I didn't like the basement in the daytime. In the nighttime, it was, you know, horrid. I went down. This is before cell phones.
Right.
So
Yep.
I had a little flashlight,
Right.
and the stairs go down, and then you have to like go a few steps before you actually turn the pull on light. And
Mhm.
doing this at 2, 3 in the morning. And as soon as I hit the bottom of the stairs, I knew it. The back of, like, the hair on the back of my neck stood right up, and of course, it's colder in the basement, but it was colder than it should have been in the basement.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what in the basement there was a hole that kind of ran under the kitchen, and it's where like the washer and dryer pipes went. The water pipes.
Access points. Sure.
Yeah, I did not see anything,
Mhm.
but I don't know if you ever got the feeling like something is like watching you.
95% of the time.
And
I was gonna say, Gabriel.
I had to. I went. I pulled that light on. I ran to the other side of the basement, flipped the switch that I needed to, and ran back. And I told my wife, I will never go down to that basement in the middle of the night ever again. And I didn't.
Wow.
What
So
was
we definitely.
Go ahead.
I could tell if you were frozen or if you were just waiting.
No, you started talking. I was like, oh. So, what was the predominant moment in that house, Jeremy, that you're like, yeah, this is haunted. You know, I mean, a lot of the stuff, I think, you being an intellectual guy, understand that, you know, electricity can make you feel like someone's watching you, you know.
Yeah.
Um, Phantom smells could be drain pipes that are dried out, you know, the P-trap. And, you know, old houses can just give you the creep feeling for sure. What was the defining moment that you're like, you know, this is haunted? You know, I mean, the shadow people, you can always, you know, I didn't really see it, you know. So in your perspective, what was it?
The the one time, that I really decided that it was haunted was I was going up the stairs, and the stairs go, you'd open the stair door,
Hmm.
and it would go up, then up to a landing, and then up again to the first bedroom, and then it would be the hallway where the other bedrooms were. And so I went up, and I was going up to the top to the first bedroom,
Hmm.
and I saw it looked a lady in white walk from in the hallway, walk across and through the wall, and disappear. And that's when I decided we knew my brother-in-law and his girlfriend did not sleep upstairs that
I don't blame them. I think that there's always a lady in white. What do you think the significance of the white is?
I'm not really
Get it?
sure
Yeah.
because we had another apparition that I saw at least twice, and that was downstairs. But this
Hmm.
was an older lady,
Hmm.
and so I don't know really what the significance. That one I only saw once, and I don't know if it might have been this older lady that I've seen before, and it might be the. I found out that there was an older couple that lived there previously, and they had owned the house for many years. So very well it could have been her. Um, but every Christmas I would see this older lady. It would be around Christmas, and
Hmm.
one time my wife's grandmother was living with us for a while. So I went in the house and to check on my daughter, and I went into our and she was still a baby, so she had our crib in our bedroom, and so I went in, and I saw a little old lady. I thought it was her grandmother, so I said, uh, you know, I I tried to talk to. They it didn't, you know, I didn't realize that her grandmother was in the bathroom. She wasn't in the bedroom with it. It was I thought it was a little old lady. She was looking over the crib, and I swore it was my wife's grandmother, but it wasn't.
Did
That was
did that entity, did it notice you were looking at it, or did it just was it
it.
that you
Looked
were
at
there?
me, and then you know when I realized that I heard her grandmother come out of the bathroom, I looked the other way, and when I looked back, it was gone. So
Wow.
it was, yeah, it was, and we did see her again. I saw her again the following year as well. Um, but there was a variety of different things. My wife saw a few, like one guy. Well, she thought it was her Uncle Joey.
Hmm.
He had a red coat, just like she said. Oh, Uncle Joey's coming at the door. So when we went to open it, there was no one there, but she swore she saw that it looked like her uncle, but it wasn't. It was. She said it looked just like a guy that. So
So
it was inside and out of the house.
I'm getting some thoughts here, Gabriel, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong here,
Yeah,
but
you're right.
the,
Really. Good
never
thought.
mind. No, we do know that certain, and I'm going to go into the dark side here. Gabriel really likes to go to the dark side a lot,
I
so we're
love
going
the
to go to
dark
the
side.
dark side. So
Let's
we do
explore
know
that.
that some spirits will mimic or present themselves as people that you know, right? Like, so you're talking about the old lady that might have looked like grandma, or you thought was grandma, but wasn't grandma, and then the red coat, um, and then thinking maybe it was the uncle. Is there a possibility that whatever was in this house could have been a little bit more on the dark side, or as Gabriel likes to talk about demonology, could it have been something a little bit more malevolent
And let
and
me
just
add a little
mimic?
bit more flavor to that, Jeremy. The reason why we talk about things presenting themselves what they are is it's been my personal experience that demons come to you sideways. Through who they are, if they came you directly, you'd be frightened off, right? And to
Yeah.
me, it's a numbers game, right? I mean, if we're talking about numbers, I associate that to souls. So to me, dark entities come to you sideways because they try to allure you, you know.
Yeah.
So when we talk about coming in as something that they're not, I'm sure you understand that concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a possibility, but like I said, I think only once that I can remember someone felt like they were touched, and that was um, I think one of my wife's cousins, and they went up to get something out of the closet,
Right.
and it was after dark, and they shut the light off. Of course, again, this is the whole house where you have to shut off the light here, and you still have to walk through. Um, and she felt like she got touched, and she knew nothing of the hauntings or anything either. She just said, "Oh, I felt like someone grabbed me." Um, and I don't know if my wife ever told her any different, but but she just noted that. Um, so but we never. There was nothing other than that one time in the cellar that I feel like really scared.
Sure.
Or but I could have like you said, I could have freaked myself out too.
Right.
Um,
So, a gentleman like yourself that's interested in history, what does history play when it comes to like grounds and buildings and structures? What is your take on that, sir?
um, I would probably. I think that I really believe that history really imprints itself.
Like a
It's
record.
yes,
Yeah.
and you know, s- like with Gettysburg,
Mm-hmm.
imprinted. I do. I've never been to Salem, but from what I've read, the trauma there, there's
Right.
imprints, and a lot of places that have had that trauma, you know, even if it's not, I don't think it doesn't have to be a trauma that's happened at a hospital or at a battlefield. I think, even regular houses can get imprints. Um, so but when it comes to the like intelligent hauntings,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little more complicated than with the residuals. Um, but that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I think intelligent hauntings, and you can give us your, your impression, but to me, I mean, when the intelligent hauntings that Raven and I and me personally have been alone in, um, they seem to interact with you, and to me, that's what the intelligent part is. Uh, Things that we've seen that just kind of keeps on going, that's not aware you're there. I would call that an unintelligent haunting. It just is. It's replaying
Yep.
a history of itself. But intelligent hauntings, I always find fascinating and creepy because I mean, if they're willing to respond to you, and they're willing to interact with you, what's them stopping to end up coming home with you, or coming into you, right? Be human possessions. So I always fear, and you should never show fear because they eat off that, of course, but my fear is always the intelligent hauntings, because if they're intelligent enough to interact with you, then they may very well be intelligent enough to interfere with you.
Yeah.
And we've had our fair share of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So so Jeremy, we have done our own investigations. We've gone actually several places. We'll both be actually at places this weekend even, and doing some investigating. I know that you are kind of new to the field of investigating, and I know that you have not quite announced where you'll be going.
I'm not going to
However,
pressure him, of course. You know,
we are. I mean, we would love for
we
him
have
to announce it
not. I
right
even.
now on
I
Dark
am
with
not.
Cameron.
Now,
Okay, fine.
I haven't
Um,
announced it, but I did put it on my Facebook group. I have put, it was maybe a month ago. I put an outline. I blacked out everything. It's an
uh-huh.
outline of the building that I'm going to.
Okay.
Um, I, no one guessed, so I don't know.
Oh, maybe
No
I need to
one's
pop on
no
there
one,
and desk open.
but it's
So,
a
um,
decently well-known place. And I'll even give this hint for an exclusive. It's in New York.
okay. Well, that's fascinating. Awesome. Well, we
okay.
can't wait for you to tell us the full amount because we're not good guessers on this show. So, what is it about history that you're attracted to, sir?
um, I just really enjoy it. I want, there's so much history that, even with a history degree, you still don't even know a quarter of
Mm,
the history. And there's so much, you know, I really enjoy medieval history.
Oh,
I really,
that's fascinating. Absolutely.
I really, really, really want to go to England, Scotland,
yeah,
Ireland.
Ireland. Yeah. Not
It's
just
on
for
the
the
bucket
redhead, but for the history, sir.
for the history and the
Yeah.
hauntings because
Yeah,
there's so many
absolutely.
places. Um, you know, I want to Edinburgh. I really want to
Edinburgh.
go.
Yeah.
I
Edinburgh.
really,
yes.
Absolutely.
really want to go there. There's so many places there that I'd like to see. It's on the bucket list someday. So, but I really like that. I'm really fascinated with American history as well.
Hmm.
Mm,
The Revolutionary War, Civil War. I really want. I stopped. Well, actually, this October, me and my daughter and my niece went to Wilson's Castle. I don't know if you're familiar with that in Vermont.
I am not. You
no.
can feel free to fill
Um,
us
Yeah.
in.
Tell us a little bit
so
about that.
Wilson's Castle, it's in. I'm trying to remember. It's near Rutland, Vermont, and it's a castle that was built by a couple. Um, I think that came over from England, and I'm probably going to butcher the history on this because I took the history tour and I did a little bit on it, but I haven't studied it. But it's beautifully built. It's very haunted. Um, I especially the pink room that they
Uh,
have upstairs. They according to the lore there, there's a portal in the closet, and I'm not saying that there's a portal in the closet, but you walk into that room and the atmosphere is completely different than outside that room.
Mhm.
It's very heavy,
mhm.
and like my daughter wanted a picture in the of the closet. She says, "I'm not going in there though." So Dad went in, and but in the closet itself does have an even heavier feeling, at least in my
Mhm.
opinion. I felt almost like I was being almost like it was choking. I wasn't being choked, but it was like almost a choking feeling
Mhm.
in the closet. So there's something in there, um, and that was just feelings because I didn't do any investigating. We took the history tour, and then I went and I did a little bit of filming and stuff in there and pictures and all of that. It was during Halloween time. That was our
Mm.
Halloween trip. Um,
Nice.
hoping this year we can make it to Salem. That's
Absolutely.
I don't know if I want to go during
Cool.
October though, but
No,
you
it's
know.
super
So,
crazy busy there
so
in
what do you think
October.
portals are, Jeremy? In your perspective,
Um, I th- I I think that there is portals places, but I don't think there's as many portals as people claim
right?
there are. Because I think that it is a way for spirits to maybe travel. that we don't really understand.
Sure.
And I'm going out on the non-history limb here. A non-historical limb, but just my opinion on the portal would be that I really think I don't know if it's traveling from place to place or traveling dimension to dimension, maybe.
Well, Raven and I have been definitely in areas that we would associate it to a portal. The Sally House. I also think aspects of when we were in Marquette, and I know I say it wrong all the time. Isn't Marquette, Marquette,
Marquette.
Michigan? Thank you. Marquette, Michigan. We were in a lighthouse, and I think there's portions of at least one area of the room downstairs that probably had somewhat of a gateway. You know, yeah, so portals are a real thing. And you can definitely feel it when you're in the presence of something. And it's hard to explain. And I know that in our case, you could definitely have the choking sensation because, and I think part of that is feeding off the energy of the individual to be able to use that. And to me, I could definitely see a choking sensation. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all. That's the only way I can explain what I felt like you know, and of course, I bought a piece of the wood from the restoration at Wilson's Castle.
Absolutely. That's
I
always a good idea. Bring something haunted home. I love that.
yeah,
People
my
do that all
wife,
the time. It's a souvenir. It's great. Nothing bad can happen, sir.
my wife had a fit, but anyway,
Yeah, your
another
wife is a smart lady. I gotta let you. Yeah,
No, she's like,
yeah.
she sold it in a garage sale or whatever,
Right.
she's like done with it.
So if you
Well,
don't mind, I kind of want to change directions, Jeremy. In the history, since you have a lot of history experience, I want to ask you about a commercialized creature. This commercialized creature does not exist, sir, and you're very free to say it does not. And I'm talking about the made-up mass hysteria of Bigfoot. Raven Knight has a delusion that Bigfoot, excuse me, Raven Knight has the delusion that Bigfoot exists, and regardless how much respect I have for her, it does diminish every time she talks about the Bigfoot. So, in your travels, sir, would you agree with me, or do you suffer from mass illusion as well as?
You can't.
That is the way I asked it, sir.
People,
uh,
every
Yes.
time. Wait, hold on. Every time
Yes.
he asks this question, he asks it now in that manner. He says, "Are you delusional, or do you believe in
No.
Bigfoot?" And
Listen,
honestly, it's gonna be.
I'm not saying
every single
he
time
is
from now on.
delusional. I'm saying that if he believes in Bigfoot, that part is massive delusion. I mean,
No,
what do
he
you
is
think?
entitled to his own
Yeah,
opinion.
he is entitled to be wrong.
You
Jeremy,
can't
please
lead with
let us know your side of it, sir.
well, I do live right outside the Adirondack Mountains.
Which is known for
Or the
that thing that doesn't exist. Yes.
vision of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
Let
And
him explain.
so, I've never seen a Bigfoot.
Right. Because they don't exist. But continue. Sorry. Sorry. I'm just
Um,
If you
Just
saw
saying.
one, he'd be a millionaire. If he had pictures and video that actually was credible, that wasn't blurry, he would. Be
I
a
would
millionaire.
need Jeremy. I would need somebody having Bigfoot next to him as they're perming that Bigfoot's hair for me to believe that's really Bigfoot. But I'm sorry. Continue with your story, sir. I'm sorry she interrupted you.
so, there's been many sightings in the Adirondacks
Right,
of
right.
Bigfoot. I've never seen it personally.
Mhm.
And I did have this discussion with Nate Elwell.
I know him. He was
Yeah,
on our show at one point. Yes.
Yeah, he was on mine too. He did my Halloween special with me, and we
Oh,
talked
very
about
cool.
a whole bunch of,
Call
we
out
went
to
the
Nathan.
gamut of paranormal.
Right. Yep.
And if I remember from what his theory on Bigfoot, is that it was, and I agreed with him, that they're an interdimensional being.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
He could very much, you could very much, they could, you know, maybe you walked right by Bigfoot. Maybe they transformed into a stone or a tree or.
So I always say shapeshifter. I mean,
That
why not, right? Because no one's ever found, a dead Bigfoot, and all things do come to an end. Um, so I always think, at least the theory in my head is it's a shapeshifter, a
or
genie, even if you want,
I
because
think we also discussed the fact that it could be maybe they bury their dead. So
but for them to be um, and regardless what recent history wants to tell us, it's got to be a X and Y chromosome. I'm treading very, very softly here, Raven. To produce a baby. So, I mean, biologically, you need two different chromosomes to make a fetus, right? So that means more than one, and I just and there's got to be more than just two, right? So then you're talking about, a whole bunch of them are inbreeding, and then these things become, I don't know, like dumb as deer, and they run in front of your car and no one hits them. So, I mean, I don't know. So that's why I think that it could be even a skinwalker, a shapeshifter. Thinking of the veil, which we talk a lot about. It could be from a different dimension. I mean, you know.
yeah,
And they
yeah.
always seem to always be spotted in wooded areas, by the way. I don't understand why.
I kind of lean that way. That I think it's if it exists, if Bigfoot exists,
Right.
I think it's an interdimensional being.
Sure.
And that's why we don't see it, often.
Right.
Maybe it's
Or
not.
in cities or anything like that. It's always, where I mean, most UFO sightings happen around rural areas, anyways, right? So I can definitely get on board that it's not a real mythical thing at all. It's a delusion. And then when people see it, they 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 misidentify it as something, right? Because our mind, when our mind sees something it doesn't understand, it gravitates to the closest thing it can understand. And we all watch cartoons with Bigfoot, right? That's why it's not real. And then I think that's what the mind grabs. Raven, that's very good, solid theory.
Harry and the Hendersons is a documentary. Listen, they hit him with cars.
I'm so sorry. Henry and the Hendersons was not a documentary.
Harry and the Hendersons was definitely based off of true events.
So, Jerry, will you please? I've tried, sir. If you would mind just talking her down, please.
No, listen, I'm all about. I think it could be an interdimensional
Interdimensional.
being, or yes, intervention. Yes,
Yeah,
everybody needs
yes,
intervention.
yes, with medication intervention, absolutely.
Thank you. But I think it could be, or a shapeshifter for sure. Like, okay, so if we think about the history of Bigfoot, bear with me, Jeremy. We think about the history of Bigfoot, and we think about our indigenous people, right? And they all had something, like they even saw UFOs, or like even, I mean,
Are you talking about a Wendigo? Is that the direction you want to go to?
No, I'm just saying that all of the stories are based in some sort of, all of the stories from history are based on something, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. So the stories, the things they saw back, hundreds of years ago, could have been true then. And then I'm actually gonna play a different weird field here. I'm gonna say, what if there very much possibly could have been a Bigfoot, but then now people are just thinking they see a Bigfoot because they're thinking they see a Bigfoot, but something was based
So
on
the mind
reality here.
kind of steers itself into something that it can understand, like all the misdirectional videos of a mystical creature that doesn't exist. I like that. That's
Right,
kind of why.
but
Thank you. You
we
just said it a
think of
different way.
hundreds of
Jeremy,
years
this is
ago,
what I have to work with, sir. Just saying.
maybe there was a Bigfoot hundreds of years ago.
Yes.
Maybe Bigfoot did exist. And that's why you don't find bodies anymore, because Bigfoot no longer exists, but it did exist at one point.
Jeremy, how would you like to hear a long story about Jeffrey Dahmer's stool? I'm sorry.
We haven't been there in so long.
Yes,
I
listen.
actually am interested in know that Jeremy on his podcast actually talked to somebody about Jack the Ripper, which
Oh,
I find
very interesting.
I'm
Yes.
very much into true crime and
Yep.
also like the history of certain true crime cases. And
Yep.
Jack the Ripper is like a huge true crime case.
Yes.
And so I want to actually touch on that for a second because to me that's very, very interesting.
Very interesting. Good call there, Ray.
What-
That's good.
What did you learn, I guess, when you did this episode about Jack the Ripper? Like, is there something that you learned about Jack the Ripper that you never knew before you did this episode?
I kind of got to kind of look at Jack the Ripper a little differently. Dr. Carroll has done a bunch of research, and his belief is that Jack the Ripper, was either a demon or was demonically possessed.
Oh, that's very interesting there, Jeremy.
That is super interesting.
Which I never thought about,
No.
when thinking of it, but he said that there's also, around the world since then, there has been other documented cases that are very similar to what Jack the Ripper did. And could it been that they, the demon is still out there? It jumped from Jack the Ripper to someone else.
We could segue that into Jeffrey Dahmer, some of the actions he took. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Well, at least to my understanding, demons are a lot like bed bugs or cockroaches. They kind of leech on, right, and they just follow you. So I can definitely see that. Maybe there was a dynamic. Dynamic. What? There's a demon that attached itself in committing these crimes. I could see that that could very possibly be. That's very interesting. Kind of a side note. I like that. Thank you.
That was one of the things I really that he brought to the interview that really fascinated me. I really never thought of Jack the Ripper in that way.
Right.
And he also believed that it could be connected to cults or the secret societies of the Victorian age.
Mm-hmm.
And normally they would send out, I think he called it a harbinger, I'm probably mispronouncing it.
No, harbinger. Yeah.
Yes. And it,
harbinger, isn't
to
it?
do the demonic ritual, which would be the killings.
Absolutely.
So it was very fascinating, and that's actually the newest episode that came out last Saturday. So, on Jack the Ripper.
No. Although, I mean, I don't want to play that card, but I might. I mean, we think of serial killers and Jack the Ripper. Okay, Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, we think of what they do. Right? And our brains cannot understand it because most of us don't have those sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? But most of us have that inkling to go and not just, let alone unalive somebody, but also cut them up into little pieces or, most of us don't. So when we think of it that way, we have to come up with an explanation. There has to be, like, our, I don't want to say a normal human brain, but that's kind of what I'm going with. A normal human brain is not going to, we have to rationalize it. To us, that just seems like there has to be a reason why somebody would do that. So actually pointing it to a demon, that just seems like, well, it had to be a demon. You know what I mean? Like, no person in their right mind, and we're using air quotes, right, would do this to another person. It just, we can't believe it in our own heads. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So we have to come up with some sort of explanation for why. And I don't know if I believe that he was demonically possessed. He was probably just either a sociopath or a psychopath or something like that, or it was probably more in a mental state versus a paranormal state. That's what I'm gonna say. But I also haven't listened to your episode yet, So maybe I should listen and find out if I am completely wrong. I could be completely
Well,
wrong.
Oh, it's a
on that
fascinating.
note, Jeremy, how do people find your podcast? Tell our audience how to find you and how to look you up, and
Uh,
some things that they can look forward to.
so, you can. I'm on YouTube. That's my main platform.
Right.
YouTube. It's the Common Historian.
I love it.
At Common Historian.
Yeah.
I'm also, I do have an Instagram. It's not as branded, but it's under, um, you know, uh, of course, I can never remember them.
Oh, that's
Just
okay.
trying.
I can never remember them either. It's fine. That's what happens.
So TikTok, I'm Jeremy B 80803,
Yep.
and Instagram, I'm Jeremy Brunton.
Oh,
So,
I love it.
um, and I do have a Facebook group, the Common Historian, as well. If that's something that interests you, I post all my episodes on there. Other people, I share other people's podcasts on there as well. So, that is um, something that the group's small, but
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
growing.
Well,
Um, and you know, upcoming, if you don't mind, I'll just mention my couple.
no, please.
Definitely.
Saturday, I have Southern Paranormal from Kentucky.
Cool.
That's going to be the upcoming.
Oh, Kentucky.
And then after that, I have author Rick Hale and paranormal investigator. His episode will be the following Saturday as well. And then I have Nick Carboni from Indiana on after that. So those are the rest of January.
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, Jeremy, I want to thank you for, as I read our outro, I want to thank you for being with us. And as we bring tonight's conversation to a close, I want to sincerely thank you once again, Jim Britton, for joining us and for bringing a thoughtful, research-driven perspective to the unexplained. The Common Historian reminds us that behind every haunting, every legend, and every whispered story, there is a human past waiting to be understood. History may fade from textbooks, but it never truly disappears. It lingers, it echoes, and sometimes it reaches back. Isn't that right, Raven? My thanks as well to Raven Knight, who insight and presence continues to grow on my nerves. These conversations guide them through our care and attention. I added that. You're welcome. To our listeners, thank you very, very much for spending part of your evening with us. If tonight's discussion resonated with you, we invite you to follow and share and stay connected with darkwoodsparanormal.com. Your support allows us to continue exploring these spaces, talking to these interesting peoples like Jeremy here, and where history, memory, and the unknown quietly overlaps. Until next time, remain curious, stay aware, and never forget the past is closer than it appears. Also, do stay safe out there. Thank you very much. Jeremy, why don't you hang on for a second?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.